Hello, everyone. Welcome to Astrology Victoria with Dulcie and Tatiana. Woohoo! Under the astro blanket.
Ooh,
Anyway, what are we discussing today?
So we host a lot of astrology chats where people can come and talk about astrology and how it's affecting them. And we wanted to have kind of an intro video to astrology so that if you know nothing about astrology and you want to join the chats, you can watch some of the videos and have an idea of what we're talking about.
Yes, so in this note, do we want to tell them what astrology is about?
I think we should.
We should, okay. So what is your take on astrology? And then I'll give my take on astrology.
So just in general, that's a big question. But I kind of, I look at astrology as kind of like a ticking clock. Like the planets are kind of moving around and we can see them on the chart and they move around our birth chart at a certain pace. And when they hit a certain point or they make an aspect with a planet in my chart, it signifies something. So for me, I don't see the planets as causing anything in my life, but they signify something. Like in a clock, if it's 12 o'clock, it signifies that it's lunchtime.
That's a good one.
Something like that. So yeah, just like with Venus was retrograde recently.
Do people even know what Venus
retrograde means? We'll explain that eventually. But in my chart, that signifies the second house of money, finances, and values. And as it went,
what's the second house? What are you talking about, Dulcie? What's the second house?
We'll get there too.
Exactly. That's the point.
Yeah. So as the planet was retrograde, I kind of knew that there might be some issues with money or finances or holdups in that area. And sure enough, one of my paychecks was lost in the mail for an entire month. But I knew that eventually Venus would go direct again, and it did. And then there was my check in the mail. So woohoo! So I just see it as, it's reassuring knowing that there's kind of a timeline to things and an end to things. And it's just a whole system that's kind of constantly moving. Yeah.
Wonderful. So what do I think astrology is? I will define it like translating everything that Dulcie said as the study of the cycles. A cycle is just a revolution, goes in a circle, and it goes up. It goes in a spiral. Let's say for the purpose of this, it's going up, evolving. And it evolves and revolves. So every single planet that revolves around the sun has an orbit and a timing. And each one, if it's a small orbit, it will be fast. Big orbit, slow, right? So yeah. So what happens is these timings and these positions, and they will meet at certain points. That was what Dulcie was referring as the aspects. I was like, yeah, what's an aspect? Well, when one planet's here, another one's there, and they change, and according to their positions, they're having little conversations like, hello, this is happening to me, and this is happening to me, and so in this study of the cycles, we can see what Dulcie said about the timings. Something happens, but it's not determined as this is going to happen. It's more like these are the possibilities of what could be the experience of the human being. Because, and when she said, oh yeah, in my birth chart, this thing or this aspect has an impact, is because the birth chart, and this is what we're going to discuss in our next video of how a basic chart works. The birth chart is a snapshot of the day you were born and where all those planets were sitting that day at that particular time, seen from Earth, And when you have that, you have the best thing you could ever have in your life. It's called a GPS for life. Well, yeah, without that, I mean, you can do life. It's fine. Everybody does this without it. But what happens?
You can live without a birth chart, but you probably don't want to.
You can live without Google. You can live without GPS. You can try and figure your way out on your own and take forever and bump. But a birth chart is a roadmap that will indicate first what are your talents and your gifts and your abilities. It's almost a map of your psyche, imprinted. And when you know that, you can't go wrong with that. And then you will choose to go with what you're most capable of doing. And if you have challenging energies in your chart, you also learn in your chart what areas of life you came here to grow in, or to learn, or to evolve in. So it's a whole thing. It's like, I have gifts, and then there's challenges and things to grow with and understand, and things to heal as well. So when you know that, it's like, I don't know how it's going to happen. I just know that this is kind of my task, my map, and then I fill it up with however. I mean, I can take whichever path I want to fulfill this, but it's kind of there. So the study of cycles, it's mathematical, it's in the skies, and I also call it the language of the stars. So what we do as astrologers and people who want to learn astrology, it's to really become, it's like learning a new language. If you only know how to speak English, then you speak English. But if you want to learn another language, then you'll be able to communicate with other things. So the language of the stars is literally, we're communicating with them.
What are they saying? What are they telling us? And when you start studying it, you are more comfortable with comprehending things rather than speaking it. And then it just takes time learning the language before you can start speaking it as well.
So that's when we do our astro chats. It's more about what's happening with me, with my roadmap, and how am I feeling, how am I reacting, and how can life also be better. We can always choose the better versions of ourselves with the energy we have. Energy is neutral, but it does go in a pendulum swing from, let's say, call it more negative aspects to positive aspects, or shadow side and what's the opposite of shadow side? Bright side? Positive. Yeah, it's like a range, right? You could go in the same energy, you can go in a range, and you are the only one to choose. No one can tell you what to do and how to do it. Astrology will not predict how and why exactly. You are the only one who can choose your path. But when you know your roadmap, you can choose your road. Might, avoid some pitfalls, and if you know you're going to have a mountain to climb, you'll be prepared with the gear you need to take. I'm going to climb Everest with no gear. That would be somebody without an astrology.
That would be an Aries rising. I would go and do that.
Yeah.
I would not make it all the way up.
Exactly. And then you wonder, what is all these risings and houses and all the things and Venus retrogrades? Well, this is the magic of that language we're going to share with you and invite you to. So
we'll just wrap that up somehow.
How do you wrap it up like this?
And goodbye.
Bye.
We're up.